Okay, we're just about ready to hook that up, all the wiring, but I wanted you to see something here. They gave me two different sets of orange screws. I've got 4 bigger orange screws and 5 small orange screws. And most of the time, the orange wire nuts are the same size. Look how much bigger this one here to the left is. Look at that. But you gotta look in here, and I believe that hole is just ever so slightly bigger than this one. Okay, so I'm going to decide to use the bigger orange screws for the wires that come out of the ceiling. Okay, when I hook that up, I'll use those bigger ones, and then when I go for the small wires that go from the ceiling fan to this housing bit, okay, I'll use the smaller orange screws, because see these three that come off of this side of the wiring harness, those are the 3 that get hooked up to the wires that come out of the ceiling fan. Remember, the ceiling fan had 3 wires coming out of the ceiling fan, the white, blue, and black. Okay, those real thin wires. We're not going to hook any of those up to the main power up there in the ceiling. Okay, we're going to hook those up to this right here. Okay, then once we do that, we've only got the 2 main wires here. Remember, these said AC in, AC neutral, AC load. These are the wires that go up to the ceiling. Okay, and then all the ground wires, we'll hook all the ground wires together up there. I'm going to do that next. Remember, we had a ground wire coming off of the light fixture, a ground wire coming off of the housing, and then the ground wire that goes up to the ceiling. So we got 3 ground wires, and I'll hook that up. And I'm going to do that first, and hopefully I can use one of these little orange wire nuts, but if not, I've got my standby yellow wire nuts, and I might use one of those too, okay? We'll do that next. Okay, I'll try to do this so you can see it, but you might not be able to see all of it, but you're going to get the gist of it. I've got the 2 ground wires that are coming from the light, from the ceiling fan. This one comes up, this one was attached to the knuckle. This ground wire was attached to that black housing that we had screwed up there first. So now I've got to take both of those. Man, those wires are short. I'm going to wrap those 2 together before putting them on the ground wire up in the ceiling. So I'm going to strip these back a little. Yeah. And I never know which little hole of the stripper to use, so I get a small one and I kind of cut it, and then I use a bigger one to strip it off with. That way I'm assured that I'm not going to strip off too many stranded little bits of the wire. If you do, then you may want to cut that off and try again. Okay? And I'm twisting all the stranded wires together, and I like to connect these 2 first, like in an X shape, and just kind of wrap those around. They were kind of short from before. Now I only stripped it off another less than 1/4 inch. Okay, now I've got a little bit extra for the ground wire. Let's get those other wires out of there. Make sure my light switch is off, and it is. Okay, so now, see, I could have even made those longer, then I could have wrapped that around the ground wire. I think this is going to work. Good grief. Okay, that looks good. Now I want to resituate that up in the box, because you will remember I've got to get that black box up in here. So I want to push this up high enough to get all the wires out of the way and kind of mimic how this is going to be with that sliding through there. Okay, that looks okay. And I think I'm ready to get that box up there. Okay, step by step, you can do it. I know you can. Okay, now I got to get this bad boy up there. Okay. Oh, oh, incidentally, before I put that black thing up there, remember I told you maybe I would just leave it on the factory setting in here? Well, I read the direction that said do not use the factory setting. So I moved a couple of these. I moved the 1 down and the 5 down, and I left the 2, 3, and 4 in the upright position, and then I had to do the same thing to the little handheld remote. Okay? And it shows you how to do it. Use a little screwdriver or a screw and get it in there. Hold your mouth just right and make sure you get it in there, okay? So now I'm going to gently slide that up in there and look and see how everything's looking. Okay, that antenna needs to be free a little bit, and I'm mimicking the idea to see how these wires are going to fit up in there and how I'm going to get them over and all that. Here I got the white and black power wires over on this side, and I believe they're long enough for the white wire and the red wire that's coming out of the ceiling. Okay, remember, you got to make sure I got enough room for those. Just repositioning the ground wire, and I get the white and the red wire over here. The red is going to mimic the black wire, right? The white wire is going to go white to white and black to red. Okay, and then all my other wires, my 3 coming up from the ceiling fan, are going to the 3 over here that are connected to that black box. Okay, and so I'm going to use the bigger of the orange screws, and I'm going to do the white wires first over on this side. Make sure my light switch is turned off, and it does look like it's off. I don't want to do this with hot wires. Dabbity dabbit. Okay. And these wires, this wire nut looks pretty darn small. And, you know, I'm wondering if I should use the yellow wire nuts, but I think I can use this one. I just need to cut the wire. Make sure that's off, and it is. I'm going to cut the wire that I stripped back up at the ceiling. I've got that white wire coming out about 3/8 or so. I'm just going to cut off a little bit of it, because once you get the wire nut on, you want to make sure it covers all of your wire, okay? So I'm going to cut that. Where did that go? You know, I might have gotten lucky and it might have went right inside the fan housing. Good grief. My little piece of wire. Oh, that's a no-no. It's probably in there forevermore now. Okay. I'm going to do white. I'm going to do white to white. I'm going to slide that back in there. housing. Make sure I have it tight. Pull on the wires, make sure they're not coming apart. Okay. And now I'm going to connect the red wire to the black wire. See, this thing is still giving me fits because I don't have those other wires hooked up yet. Okay. Well, it's just kind of, you just kind of have to hold your mouth just right, apparently. Now, see, I didn't have to do this with the other light, the other ceiling fan, because it hooked up differently. So are all created equal? No. Another reason why I wanted to use the orange, because I still have to slide this up and I have to get this in there. So it looks like it will. I just have to kind of fold this around. Kind of like that. That's going to slide up. That's going to be fine. Now I have to get around to that other side and hook up those other ones. And I'll use this small wire nut. So white to white, black to black, blue to blue. And I'm going to cut those wires a little bit shorter now. And then restrip those wires that were coming out of the ceiling fan. Okay, that's your next step.